Hello, everybody. Welcome. Yet another edition of 18 Minutes with 180 Markets. Investors, we certainly know that the precious metals, the storage of value, it's not just Bitcoin, but it's also the metals, are really having their day to shine. Gold is firming up, so is silver prices as well. And one of the classic areas of gold exploration in Australia is Victoria. It's not just WA, and we're going to talk about that later on in the show. And with us right now, we have Ian Holland from Navarre Minerals. And Ian is going to talk about Navarre, what is so interesting about the company, how there is really massive, massive upside here in greenfield exploration. Enough with me. Ian, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks, Greg. Much appreciated.
Hey, Ian, everybody's got a story. Can you just give us your story in a couple of minutes?
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Greg. So, geologist by background. I've been in the industry for about 25 years across a range of areas. But for the last half of my career, I've actually been active here in Victoria. So some of your viewers may be well aware of the world-class Fosterville gold mine here in Victoria, and I was associated with that. I headed that up for a decade. Firstly as general manager, and then most recently as the vice president of Australian operations for Kirkland Lake Gold, Canadian Toronto-based major gold producer. I finished with Kirkland in March last year. Joined the board of Navarre, and then stepped on as the managing director from September last year. So I've been on the ground now with Navarre for about a year, and really enjoying things and really enjoying to see where we can take the company forward.
Absolutely. And even though you've only been with the company for a year, certainly, as you've alluded to, you have spent an awful lot of time chasing gold and have a huge amount of experience in the precious metal. Ian, could you just touch again? I alluded to earlier on, WA is certainly having its day in the sun with gold, but let's not forget about Victoria. Can you just talk a little bit about Victoria? Maybe, what is historically so great in this area and what also represents the future?
Yeah, for sure. So Central and Western Victoria are truly a world-class gold province. Somewhere in the order of 80 million ounces of historic gold production, largely before and up to World War One. So it is historic, and before the discovery of Kalgoorlie, Bendigo itself was Australia's second largest gold field. So really significant. There have been a number of sort of phases of exploration and going into production in Victoria over the last few decades. But really the success of the Fosterville gold mine over the last few years has been the big catalyst for really shining a light back on Victoria. So just again for your viewers' context there, if they don't know, Fosterville went from 100,000 ounces of annual production in sort of 2009, 2010 to last year over 600,000 ounces of production, in the top 5 gold mines in Australia and the highest grade, highest margin gold mine in the world. So, truly a great prize, and it really does, as I say, shine the light on what Victoria can yield in the current era.
Absolutely. And it's great that you have that experience. I'm sure that's going to help you with Navarre taking it forward. And then speaking of Navarre, can you just give the viewers an overview of your projects?
Yeah, for sure. So Navarre has been listed for 10 years. I want to make credit and acknowledgement to the founding managing director, Jeff McDermott, who's still on the board and actively engaged. Through Jeff and the team, what they were able to do was to put together a really high quality greenfields portfolio in areas where there'd been significant historic production. So I'll step through each of the pieces at a highlight and then go back and step through in detail. But the flagship project is in the Stawell Corridor, and so this is a 70-kilometre belt south of the Stawell gold mine. And again, for your viewers, the Stawell gold mine, world-class production, 5 million ounces and counting, still in production now. So,
Wow.
significant by any scale. And we've got a similar set of rocks, starting 20 kilometres to the south with a significant belt. On a similar sort of scale, we see the Sinana gold project, which I'll talk a bit more about. We've got a really significant, 14 to 1600 square kilometre tract of exploration licenses and applications over an area where there's been significant historical production, and we're starting to see some great results from there as well. We've got a real wild card in Glenlisle, our Morning Bill prospect, which I'd certainly like to cover in a bit more detail, plus Jubilee near Ballarat, and our joint venture with Catalyst Metals, which is Pandara to the north of Bendigo.
Absolutely. And, you touched on it, there's a lot of material there. Can we just start out with Stawell, please? It's obviously, as you said, it's historically produced millions of ounces. From Navarre's perspective, can you just talk about where you stand right now?
Yeah, for sure. So we saw a really major milestone for us, Greg, earlier this year, where we delivered a maiden mineral resource. So this is approximately 300,000 ounces, very much a first instalment of a mineral resource on our Adventure and Resolution prospects. So these are about 20 kilometres to the south of the township of Stawell and the mine of Stawell. Over and above that 300,000 ounces, we also defined an exploration target, and this is in accordance with the JORC code of a further 280 to 420,000 ounces. And we see significant potential to grow over and above that. So really what we're chasing here, we're currently drilling here. What we're chasing here is a million ounce plus inventory that would support decisions around how to develop and go into production. We think that there is absolutely that sort of scale, and that's on the immediate area alone. So if I can step through this in a little bit of detail, and I would point all of your viewers to our most recent investor presentation that we posted a couple of weeks ago, and in that we have a long section covering the belt basically from Stawell all the way across our properties. And what we try to highlight there is the geological control. So Stawell itself is on the margin of a basalt dome, and this is a basalt dome that was essentially placed horizontally. It's been tilted, raised, so it's subvertical, and the gold mineralization occurs on the margin of that basalt dome. Exactly the same situation happens for us at our resource at Adventure and Resolution. So it's a similar geological control. The rocks are all of the same age. And what we've defined through geophysics and drilling is up to 7 of these domes through our belt of rocks. And each of them we see as multi-million ounce potential. So we think we're only just tapping at the edge of this thing. The catalysts for us are obviously drill results as we continue to post these, but then an upgraded resource. Again, in our investor presentation, we point to the timelines of that. We're targeting that for early next year as we work through and put these programs in place.
Absolutely. And as you said, 300,000 ounces, it's a true JORC resource with potentially exponential upside, which is always very exciting. Especially against, I think your market cap is sitting something in the area of $70 million right now, plus or minus. So that should give investors some type of valuation gap. You alluded to that we should probably see, or potentially, a JORC resource upside. Let's just call it 6 to 12 months from now. Mm-hmm. But that more on the immediate side, you're drilling currently. What should investors be looking for, let's just say, over the next 90 to 120 days?
Yeah, good question. So at least a couple of announcements on drill results. I mean, we try to put these out with an appropriate degree of regularity. Not not single holes unless they're unless we're compelled to, of course, because the results are too outstanding. Not single holes, but a batch of holes, and we try to put them out in that sort of time frame. So we would expect, given that we have been drilling, we would expect that to be in the next few weeks. Yep, our first one, and then subsequently.
Right, because you're drilling a number of holes right now. Is that accurate?
Yeah, correct. So we're drilling with one rig at Adventure Lode in the Stall corridor, and we're drilling at Sinana as well in the to the north.
Absolutely, and I suppose that one of the you said with one drill rig, one of the biggest challenges right now is, as a lot of investors would know, and I'm sure you know, is just getting equipment to sites, getting those lab results back. The labs are all backed up, so keeping that timeline tight is critically important, isn't it?
It really is, yeah, for sure. Look, we've got a great set of contractors that we work with, and we really see them as partners. Our diamond drilling is undertaken by a company called Mitchell Services, so a listed company through their subsidiary Deep Core Drilling, and we've got an excellent relationship with them, and they provide a quality service, and we're really putting that in place well. All of our assays are done through ALS, again, top tier assay lab, and turnovers have been stretched, but they're doing a very good job on rolling those through as well, and we're looking to control that and prioritize that as much as we can as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, it's still very early days, obviously, in Navarre's life cycle, but the actual drilling process, sorry, not drilling, the mining process, if it comes down to it, went down the line, certainly Victoria has, as you said, we've produced millions of ounces of gold here. Is it fairly straightforward?
Yeah, it's conventional, Greg, is what I'd say. I think the best analog for us is 20 kilometres to the north in the same setting with what's happened at Stall, and that over the last, say, 40 years since continuous modern operations have commenced, has consisted of some open pit mining, followed by underground, and we would see something similar, and conventional scale underground mining, so the sort of 5-metre drive widths and 20-metre stopes and that sort of thing. So again, pretty conventional.
Yeah, and I think it's important for us investors to understand that, one of the challenges always when you go outside the square, especially to places like Africa or certainly certain sections in South America, that infrastructure, the mining, the actual devil in the detail can be incredibly challenging over in those parts of the world.
Yeah, so I think that's spot on, and so this is an advantage that we have about being in an established area. So, like I said, there's an existing mine 20 kilometres to our north. We've got a neighbouring company, Navarre Minerals, looking to essentially, we would believe, and they would believe, develop an operation over the next few years to our west on their Thursday's Gossan Cayley Lode discovery. So all of those things really support mining in the area from a community, from a government expectation. So we think that's favourable. You've got to do all of the appropriate studies, and you have to have all of the right controls in place. But we think development is certainly probable, and that's the path that we're looking at.
Absolutely. And moving on from Stelwell down to St. Arnold, can you just discuss that one a little bit, please?
Yeah, for sure. So Sinana is about 80 kilometres by road from Stall to the north east. As it turns out, the company Navarre Minerals is named after a small town that's exactly in the middle. So Navarre is 40 kilometres from Stall, 40 kilometres from Sinana. Now, what we have in Sinana again is it's an old historic goldfield. There's about 400,000 ounces of historic production at a grade of about 15 grams. So high grade gold production, finished at World War One really, and that's a recurring theme throughout Victoria because it was a loss of manpower through the war, and mines were deep, and it was difficult to restart. So recurring theme. There has been some modest, modern mining in the area, but largely the goldfield itself has missed the Fosterville boom because it was locked up in different sort of ownership structures. And from our end, we've had the enveloping exploration license for a number of years, or a couple of years, but not the goldfield itself. It became vacant, and we were successful in getting tenure to it through a competitive application process through the government, through the department. We got access late last year, so we've been on the ground for a few months. We've hit the ground running with some air core drilling programs, so reconnaissance style programs, which have seen some pretty good results. Some of which we've put out to market. Some will be coming very soon, and we're following that up with diamond drilling as we speak. So really, this is a high conviction play for us, Sinana. We are highly confident that these systems continue at depth, because that's what the history tells us. And we're drilling for that now. So the intention here is, and again, I'll point your viewers to our presentation. The catalyst is a maiden mineral resource for Sinana, and again within that sort of 12-month period of time is what we're targeting. So drilling there at the moment, and we think there's a lot of potential.
Absolutely. And again, if there's a maiden resource, in the next 12 months, I keep coming back to it, it certainly can't be in your share price at its current market cap. And, again, would you say that the potential upside here is certainly in the hundreds, if not, millions ounce types of JORC?
So that's absolutely our target. It may not be our first installment, but our target is absolutely, a 1 million ounce plus resource at Sinana for sure. Yep, we see that sort of scale potential. Yep.
Right. So you already have 2 projects, in the portfolio, and then also lastly, you have a few what I'd call upside optionality projects.
Yep.
Can you just discuss those for a little bit too?
Yeah, Glenlisle is one that we are very excited about, with some recent news as well. So this is a project. So the Morningbill prospect on the Glenlisle tenement. It's located fairly close to our other projects, about 40 kilometres to the southwest of Storm. But it is different geology. It sits across in the volcanics, so it's more similar to what Staveley Minerals have at their project. So it's gold rich, but there's a polymetallic element to this as well. Blind discovery. So this was covered by later basalt. We've discovered this through geophysics, so gravity and magnetics specifically. Identified a significant anomaly through air core drilling, so 1 kilometre by 400 metres of a gold-silver anomaly. And we've just undertaken our maiden diamond drilling. So as we speak now, we've put out the first 3 holes, and each of those 3 holes have hit high-grade gold. So plus some other silver and some base metals as well. So our very first hole, 2 metres at 10 grams gold, 130 grams silver, for our first hole. Our third hole has hit up to 9% zinc, 4.5% lead, 1% copper, plus again, 10 grams gold and silver. So we're really excited about it. It's early days, clearly, but we think there's we've really got a tiger by the tail here. So again, in terms of catalysts here for your viewers, we've got a further 5 diamond holes to process. So we'll get those out in terms of logging, sampling, and assaying. We'll report those. We'll do a full-scale interpretation and targeting exercise, and we'll talk about that before hitting the ground again in likely December, January, because there is cropping in this particular area, so we're not able to access immediately. It'll be reaccessing in December, January. So yeah, really excited with Glenlisle.
Absolutely. And can you just also talk about Jubilee and any other projects?
Yeah, for sure. So Jubilee is our most recently acquired project. So we acquired this mid last year. What attracted us was that it's got, and we wouldn't want to overplay this, but it's got some structural similarities to the high grade controls at depth at Fosterville. So it's got some transverse east-west structures where most of the geology in the gold systems in Victoria is oriented north-south. We acquired it. It hadn't seen any modern exploration. This was, again, historic production, high-grade historic production that finished at World War I. We hit the ground running. We undertook a surface geophysics program. We identified some targets with that we would see as potential repeats and or extensions. We followed that up with a 3,000 metre air core program, which identified anomalous gold in each of those target areas, and now it's ready for diamond drilling. So again, that's an upside opportunity. And lastly is our Pandara joint venture, which we hold with Catalyst Metals. So. Yeah. So we're not the operator here. Catalyst are the operator. We hold 49% of this project. It's to the north of Bendigo, and the way I'd characterise this is that really it's the potential to be the next Bendigo undercover to the north, and undercover I mean Murray Basin cover, so later sediments. Again, this was a blind discovery. So it doesn't outcrop. The old timers never found it. Located with geophysics and then subsequently drilling, and we've put out a couple of releases in concert with Catalyst over the last few months, and really shows the potential for some high grades in this area, which is what the Bendigo field was. So it'll take some time to unlock in terms of a resource. But we really like our exposure here. We think there's significant upside potential.
Absolutely. It's just crazy how much news or how much drilling there's going to be. You really need to kind of get an Excel sheet out to keep track. But for yours, there is a slide in the presentation that does have a nice timeline, and we'll make sure to link to it in the show notes for all of you, because it's too much to remember just off the top of your head, frankly.
No, spot on.
Ian, we have to keep these interviews short, unfortunately. Do you have any closing words for the audience?
Look, I think other than to say, Greg, again, really appreciate the opportunity to talk to you about Navarre. I think we're at a really exciting juncture. We've just completed a significant capital raise as well, so a $10 million raise. We've got an SPP that's in progress at the moment, so we're going to be well funded to deliver on what we say we want to do over the next 12 to 24 months, and I think we'll be flooding the market with news. So pretty excited about the way it's all going.
Absolutely, Ian. Thank you so much, and please stay in touch, especially as these news results come into play.
For sure, Greg. Thank you very much.
Bye bye.